Welcome to Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and we have a lot of news to break down here. And Happy New Year's, by the way. First day of the year, Dolphins keeping us on our toes because it is official, or I would say basically official, that Tyler Huntley is going to be the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins in NFL Week 18 against the New York Jets, as the Dolphins have to win and get a Broncos loss to make the NFL postseason, where they would travel to take on the Buffalo Bills. Miami also made a roster move that we will break down on the later portion of today's show. But let's start with Tyler Huntley, because Mike McDaniel spoke to media members today and said that Tua will be a limited participant today, but he's approaching it as Snoop Huntley is starting. Obviously, the team is very easy for us to adjust as the week progresses, but I think you have to approach it in a certain way. So it looks like Tyler Huntley is going to make his fifth start for the Miami Dolphins this season and his second in a row. And Snoop, all I'm asking for you to do is give me one more performance. I'm not asking for a month. I'm not asking for a year. I'm not asking for a lot. Just give me one more strong performance this upcoming Sunday in NFL Week 18 and give the Dolphins one fighting Carson Wentz shot to make the NFL postseason, because it feels like Tua would be able to return, at least you would hope so, if the Dolphins do make the postseason and have another week to play. If not, it would obviously be Huntley again, which would put the Miami Dolphins at a severe disadvantage. But Snoop, give me one more performance. And we'll talk more about Huntley and Tua coming up in just a second, but make sure you follow us on Instagram. Dolphins Today IG is our handle. We have 605 current followers. We need 95 to reach 700, the next milestone here at the channel. Be greatly appreciated. We post content over there on a daily basis to have you covered on the Miami Dolphins between YouTube, Instagram, 24/7, 365. All right, let's get into some news on Tua here, because he was a limited participant in practice today, and according to Barry Jackson, he really didn't do anything. And they had a man there who was at practice at the 20-minute media session and portion. It seems like he really isn't that mobile right now, and that hip might really be bothering him in terms of his ability to move around in the pocket. If he takes another big-time hit into that hip, it might cause a serious injury in the long term, in the future, which obviously the Dolphins, they could make the postseason if Tua is here and wins, and then they could play a postseason game, but they are probably prioritizing the future of Tua and this organization and next year's potential team this upcoming Sunday. But maybe the Dolphins are in good hands anyway, because Huntley played what I thought was one of his best games of his NFL career, and certainly the best game of his Miami Dolphins career, because he started 3 games earlier in the season against the Colts, the Patriots, and the Tennessee Titans. They went 1-2 in those 3 games. So after the win against Cleveland this past Sunday, the Dolphins are 2-2 with Huntley as a starter. The first 3 games were not great, but against Cleveland this past Sunday, and I know it was a really bad Browns team who are tanking, but he was phenomenal. 84.6 completion percentage. He threw nearly more than half of the yards than he did in the first 3 games against Cleveland, and almost totaled all of the same rushing yards. He was absolutely terrific, and he played damn near a perfect game against the Cleveland Browns, which is why I have a little bit of confidence in Huntley to perform well again this upcoming Sunday. Like, there's no reason for me not to have confidence in his performance against the Jets coming up, because of how well he played against the Cleveland Browns. And I know the Jets defense is slightly more talented than Cleveland's, but that Jets team is kind of tanking. I wouldn't say tanking, but they've kind of checked out. Got to be honest. But you be honest with me. Do you have trust in Tyler Huntley to help lead the Dolphins to victory on the road against the New York Jets this Sunday? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Type Y for yes or type N for no. I do have confidence in Huntley, and there's a lot of reasons why I do have faith in the current backup of the Miami Dolphins, and I think you have to point to more of what he did against the Cleveland Browns this past Sunday. He was absolutely phenomenal. When you look at his passing chart, and it's not just a dink and dunk offense from Huntley. Like, sure, he had some throws behind the line of scrimmage. That's just a staple of the Miami Dolphins offense, and he was very good in the short routes to the right, to the left, or the middle. But how about past 10 yards, past the sticks, 10-plus yard throws? He went 6 for 6, 5 for 5 between the hashes for 83 yards, and then he had one completion to the left side of the field for 10 yards. I just think he was accurate. He was really strong. He was good in his decision making, and I was impressed with his ability to layer the football and throw it on a line over the middle of the field as well. And he had a completion percentage of 86.4%. Well, if you take his adjusted completion percentage, it was 95.8. What does that mean? Well, take away a drop from Malik Washington, take away a throwaway that he had when he was under pressure, and take away a spike that he had at the end of a clock to get the Dolphins in field goal range at the end of the half to go up 6-3. You take away a drop, a throwaway, and a spike, and he completed all but one pass. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was strong in his decision-making. I was very pleasantly surprised by his play against Cleveland. He was sharp, man. He was. And I'm excited to see him have another shot to prove that that wasn't a fluke against a horrific Browns team and that he could actually do it against a little bit of a better team in the New York Jets. Because if he performs like he did on Sunday against Cleveland, against the Jets, and gets the Dolphins a win to at least get them a shot to make the postseason, I think a lot of us will feel good about him potentially coming back next year as the Miami Dolphins backup quarterback to Tua Tagovailoa. More to talk about in just a second, but we are sponsored by PrizePicks. Get started with the #1 daily fantasy sports platform out there, and it is about playoff time in football. It's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching the postseason. And you can now win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 2 or more picks, and all you do is more or less on each of those picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which players aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. I've got an entry for the final week of professional football, but also tying in some college ball as well. More than Mike Evans, 88.5 receiving yards, and I'll pair that up with Dylan Gabriel, more than 245.5 passing yards in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State. We'll see if I'm able to cash in these two-player entries for me personally here. But make sure you download the app today and use code CLNS when creating an account to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. That link will be in the description and comments of today's video. As we get back to Tyler Huntley here, and I bow up his added ability to this Dolphins football team, it's his mobility, because in that game against Cleveland, he scrambled for 53 yards, and he forced 3 missed tackles. He brings juice and brings an added layer to this Dolphins offense. Am I saying the Dolphins offense is better with Huntley over Tua? Absolutely not. That is not even close to the case with Tagovailoa and Tyler Huntley. But you are allowed to do and call different type of plays with Huntley. RPO, get him on the boundary where he's able to kind of escape the pocket, make a couple people miss. That touchdown to put Miami up 13-3 in the third quarter was very impressive, where it was an RPO run out. He could have dropped it down to Julian Hill on the flat and picked up 4 or 5 yards, but instead he says, hey, Julian, turn around, block that corner on the boundary here that's right there to tackle for you, and then he gets the block, runs to the sideline, jukes back in, and is able to find his way into the end zone. He adds an ability to this Dolphins offense, which is very fun to watch, and I'm excited to see if he can perform once again for the Miami Dolphins in a must-win game this upcoming Sunday. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because we are the #1 spot for Miami Dolphins coverage. We will have you covered leading up to game day on Sunday. We'll be live for that Week 18 game against the New York Jets as well. If you want to be up to date on everything surrounding the Miami Dolphins, we are the #1 channel for you, so hit that sub button. All right, we'll round out the show with the roster move. Kendall Lamm, who has been the starting right tackle over the past month and a half since Austin Jackson went on IR, well, he was placed on IR. And in a corresponding move, the Dolphins signed offensive lineman Braeden Daniels off of the Dallas Cowboys practice squad. And he could be a depth piece for Miami, but we'll talk about what this means ultimately for the Dolphins in the Week 18 game. But first, let me tell you about the newest Miami Dolphins, and that is Braeden Daniels. Daniels is a former fourth-round pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. He attended Utah, was a first-team All Pac-12 player in 2022. He was drafted by the Washington Commanders, released after 1 year, and has bounced around the Houston Texans, Los Angeles Chargers, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Dallas Cowboys practice squad this year in 2024, and then ultimately lands on the Dolphins' 53-man roster to close out this year because of the injury to Kendall Lamm. But this is ultimately a disaster, and it's not only a disaster for Week 18 against the Jets, but say Miami ends up getting the miracle and makes the postseason, this is a disaster for the future as well. And I'm not happy about the situation that we are going to have at the offensive line, because with Kendall Lamm out, you probably have to slot in Patrick Paul as the starting right tackle, something that he has really never done in his professional and college career playing the sport of football. But that might not even be a guarantee that Paul plays right tackle, because Teron Armstead is injured and he might not be able to go against the New York Jets, which means Paul would have to play left tackle, and we might have to rely on Jackson Carman once again at right tackle, like the game against the Texans in NFL Week 15, which I do not have a lot of faith in. And let me know what your thoughts are. Don't lie to me. Scale it 1 to 10. Concern level with the Miami Dolphins offensive line. Drop it down below. Scale it, like I said, 1 to 10. I mean, I'm at a max 10 here. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind this is a concerning thing, because we've already seen this story before against the Texans. And I get it. You were going up against Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter. But having Patrick Paul at left tackle, Jackson Carman at right tackle is one of the worst offensive line duos at the tackle position there possibly could be. And I know maybe you could move Isaiah Wynn out to right tackle. Maybe you can go Liam Eichenberg, who has played offensive tackle in his career before, and keep Isaiah Wynn at right guard instead of having to play Jackson Carman. But if they go with a Paul Carman offensive tackle combination, that could be an absolute train wreck for the Dolphins' offensive line that struggled against Cleveland, even though they were able to get the 20-3 win. If it's Paul Armstead, I'm even a little bit more concerned too, because Armstead's been dealing with injury. Patrick Paul's never played right tackle. I don't feel good about how things are going to go potentially on the offensive side of the ball this upcoming Sunday, because the offensive line is in an absolute disarray. All right, I'll do it for this episode of Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. Make sure you do follow us on Instagram. Dolphins Today IG is the handle. We'll cover you with everything you need to know outside of YouTube, post, short-form content. We have it all over there, so go give us a follow.